Captains of Industry, brought to you by Airtel.
Welcome back. You're watching Captains of Industry. Our captain tonight is Dr. Alex Otti, the newly appointed CEO of Diamond Bank PLC. He inherits a bank that has very good capitalization, a good balance sheet, global exposure. He seizes the baton from an esteemed group of founding fathers and leaders who've taken the bank to a place of stability. His job now in seizing the baton is to ensure that the work that was done is not undone, but that creative solutions are introduced, taking the organization forward. Dr. Otti, thank you very much for staying with us. Earlier on, you referred to what everybody refers to as the Sanusi Tsunami, and that's effectively the cull of executives in banks, issues around mismanagement within banks, how the stock exchange had shares manipulated, and really and truly in many ways just the whole coalescence of the capital markets, the banks, and just malfeasance within the system. Now, Diamond Bank, we know, was not caught up in any of that, but it does really change the environment. It sets the tone for what banking in Nigeria was and what the efforts are to engender a new way. Just give us your perspective on how things have changed over the last 3 years and how a new system of global standards being introduced is going to help support the work that you're trying to do here.
Thank you very much. My take is that the tsunami was a disaster waiting to happen. We may not have been clairvoyant, but a lot of us saw it coming. And the central bank governor, who was newly appointed then, coincidentally, he was my CEO in First Bank. If you operated in the system, you would have noticed the liquidity in the system. You would have noticed that banks had problems. It may have been a matter of style. The previous CBN governor managed it differently. But again, if you did not deal with it decisively, it was still going to explode at some point in future. So the change in patterns in central bank led to what happened in 2009, between August and I think October 2009, where central bank dispatched special auditors to the banks, and they found out a lot of the things that had been suspected earlier. And of course, the rest is now history. Yeah. It's a matter of debate how that issue should have been handled. But I thought that the best way to handle it is the way it was handled. Yes, you went there, you saw the problems, you dealt with them, and you moved on. Now it creates its own problems. Some of the banks are still waiting to be bought. A lot of depositors' money, depositors' money are safe for now because central bank came to support, but it's taxpayers' money that was used to support those banks. And at some point, those monies will have to be accounted for. And I think that is why the central bank is pursuing a single-minded objective of selling those banks.
I think essentially for me, what I want to know is a lot of this, is it going to help support the work that you're trying to do for Diamond Bank? Because it's a status quo change, ultimately.
Yes. You find that the banking system is a system. And a system, once there is a problem at one point of the system, if you do not deal with that problem, it goes round. I'll give you an instance. If any of those banks was allowed to fail, it would have had a ripple effect in the system. Why? Because a diamond bank, for instance, that plays in the interbank market, and as a matter of fact, every bank plays in the interbank market, would have had its money stuck. A First Bank, which is very big and supports a lot of banks, assuming it had billions of naira in a bank that was allowed to fail, a First Bank may also fail. That's the reality. So I think rescuing those banks is was very important and is still important as of today to ensure that other banks are not affected by the problem. So I see that it's going to, direct answer to your question, yes, it's going to help the work that I'm doing here.
Future plans for Diamond Bank, we're told that there are plans to expand into countries like Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Francophone Africa versus Anglophone Africa. That's I know it's one of those dinner table conversations we're always having. Is it a different and a difficult area to start spreading your wings?
The banking license that Diamond has in Benin is a unified license that gives it opportunity to open locations in other Francophone West African countries. We are at the moment in Togo, we're also in Senegal. We are just about to open in Cote d'Ivoire before the crisis. And that we have put on hold. My predecessor did that, and I thought it was a good thing. We have not completely eradicated that, but at some point when, and we hope it will happen very soon, when peace will return into that country, we intend to go into that country. But beyond Francophone countries, we'll also be looking at Anglophone. But we want to do it carefully. We want to be sure that we are going with the best strategy. We want to be sure that we are going to make money out of it. It's no use going to a location where you are going to lose money. So we are studying it. Where we are now, we are doing very well, and we intend to continue.
You don't really think that there's a cultural difference operationally in the way in which banks in some of these countries operate versus operations in Nigeria or in what we call Anglophone countries? Are those sort of superficial titles?
That's possible, but you see, you don't go to even Ghana with a Nigerian mindset. But then the reality is that the world is a global village. And that's why you have even French companies, German companies, Russian companies operating in Nigeria. So you get in there and you understand how they do their business. My personal view is that if you have resources internally, assuming I'm going to Senegal, for instance, and I have a Senegalese that can do the job for me, why not? I'll hire him. So you learn every day, and I think the cultural differences and the way they do their things will only help. You just need to learn.
Obviously, as Nigeria evolves from the crisis, and as Nigeria evolves as an economy, because the aspiration is to make this a G20 country by the year 2020, it's a real challenge to diversify the economy. And there are calls that the bank should be supporting small and medium enterprises, should be partnering with foreign entities, particularly investors from the Chinas, from the Indias, entering the market. I know there's an aggressive SME finance program at Diamond Bank, and I know that there's an interesting approach to focusing on Indian investments in this economy. Explain that to me.
Well, it's possible, but I'm not too sure that it's limited to Indians. There are a whole lot of other people, including Nigerians. And you'll be amazed when you go to locations like Alaba, like even somewhere around Victoria Island here, you see a lot of Nigerian people. I think CNN had a focus on it at some point. And you see that Nigerians are also doing very well, pioneering little technology and doing things around the mobile phone. There's no mobile phone that you have a problem with that they won't repair somewhere around there. So I think Nigerians are also doing well in that area.
How do you think people would describe your leadership style? Would aggressive be a fair term?
Well, I would say a little aggressive, not too aggressive. I say that because I always look out for value, and wherever I see value, I go for it. But I also know that I need to draw myself back to ensure that I do it safely. That's why I say a little aggressive, because it's no use going for value and destroying value at the end of the day. I also think that people see me as very firm and fair. I like the rules to be set, and I like to respect the rules. And where I think the rules are stupid, I go ahead and go through the process to change them. I do not go round. I do not go around the rules. So I believe that any rules that do not work need to be changed. Right. And until they are changed, they remain the rules. So, and I respect them.
I know that you read a lot of current affairs, but you also read a lot of motivational books focused on business. Is that where you get some of your insights?
Yes. I read as much as I can. Motivational books and then business books. I enjoy reading. I always have something reading, whether I'm flying, I'm lying down, or something. I really enjoy reading.
Favorite authors?
A gentleman called Mark McCormack, and my favorite book. In fact, he has two of them, and it's very interesting because he titled it "What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School." And then he has a second volume he titled "What They Still Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School." And a friend of mine said it was contradictory because having trained in Harvard, and then I come around to read a book titled "What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School." But it's an interesting motivational author, and I'll recommend it.
What don't they teach you at Harvard Business School?
Mark says, they give you all the theories, all the practicals. By the way, Harvard Business School is an excellent school. And by the time you come out there, one of my friends says, it's either you fire your boss or you fire yourself because you just begin to see things differently. But then Mark says there's still a whole lot of things that you need to learn by doing. There are a lot of things that nobody can teach you. And of course, there are innate qualities that you have in you that you can only develop yourself. Right. And that experience is the best teacher. It's a great book.
So in terms of the things that are innate, the challenges you pose for yourself, how do you go about doing so? I know you're a squash player. How do you test yourself?
The interesting thing is that everybody who taught me squash, I now beat them at the court. It helps me to remain focused, it helps me to remain fit, and it's competitive. Not that I'm too much of a competitive person, but then when you go out there and you beat somebody that taught you how to play the game, sometimes you get some satisfaction.
Dr. Otti, I do get a sense that from the way you conduct your life, you have a winning spirit. Is that the essence of how you're going to run Diamond Bank? What's the philosophy by which you live that is going to inform the work that you do?
I believe in the innate quality of goodness in man. So I basically see people as good, except if they give me reason to believe that they are not good. I also do believe that in a lot of instances and in a lot of cases, that people are fundamentally good. They just need some tweaking, some training left, right, and center. They need training, they need coaching. I also do believe that sometimes you have people who are not doing very well, that all they need is some encouragement of some sort, and you move them to the next level where they will start doing well. I believe that the rule must be respected. I believe that order should be in a system. Otherwise, indiscipline will lead to destruction of the system. So I think with all those, the sky will not even be the limit.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Alex Otti. That's the humanism of the newly appointed CEO of Diamond Bank PLC. Yes, admittedly a tough taskmaster. He's the first to admit that. Fair play, but a winning spirit, not just for himself, but for those he'll be leading here at Diamond Bank.